Hey everyone, welcome to News Chord, where military strategy meets macroeconomic reality.
Right now, in the waters of the Persian Gulf, nearly 130 million barrels of crude oil are floating aimlessly on giant tankers. They are loaded, they are ready to ship, and they have absolutely nowhere to go. In March 2026, the global economy suffered the largest supply disruption in the history of the oil market, following coordinated U.S. and Israeli military strikes. Iran slammed the door on the Strait of Hormuz, the most critical energy chokepoint on the planet, and the financial shockwaves have been absolute chaos. Brent Crude surged past $120 a barrel. But this isn't just an oil story. This is a story about food shortages, spiraling global inflation, and a looming threat of stagflation that is forcing central banks to rewrite their entire playbooks. Today, we are breaking down the exact economic fallout of the 2026 Strait of Hormuz blockade. We'll look at the hidden commodities crashing the market, how this is triggering a food crisis in the global south, and what the charts are telling us about the future of the global economy. To understand the scale of this economic earthquake, you have to look at the map. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway separating Iran and Oman. At its narrowest point, it is just 39 kilometers wide. Through this tiny geographic bottleneck passes roughly 20 million barrels of oil every single day. That is roughly 20% of all global seaborne oil trade. Add to that the massive volumes of liquefied natural gas, or LNG, primarily from Qatar. When the 2026 Iran war escalated in late February, the geopolitical risk premium skyrocketed. By March 4th, Iran effectively closed the strait. The U.S. responded in April with a counter-blockade, targeting ships heading to Iranian ports. The result: a massive traffic jam of the world's most vital resources. While a few ships have managed to slip through via diplomatic backchannels, commercial traffic is a fraction of its pre-war levels. The physical supply chain has been severed, and the financial markets reacted instantly. When a supply shock of this magnitude hits, the markets don't just react, they violently reprice. For macro analysts and traders watching the charts, the breakout was historic. Oil didn't just climb. It gapped up, destroying short positions and forcing a massive influx of liquidity into safe haven assets. This volatility bleeds directly into the broader economy. Elevated fuel prices immediately spike freight and logistics costs. When it costs twice as much to fuel a cargo ship, everything inside that ship becomes more expensive. This reignites the inflation narrative that central banks spent the last 3 years trying to kill. Before this crisis, the market was pricing in interest rate cuts for 2026. Now, central banks, like the ECB, are sounding the alarm on stagflation, a toxic economic cocktail where growth stalls out. But inflation keeps rising because of the supply squeeze. The risk premium for borrowing costs has jumped, tightening financial conditions globally and wreaking havoc on the forex markets as emerging market currencies devalue against the dollar. But focusing only on oil misses the deadliest part of this economic trap. Energy shocks don't stay confined to energy markets. They ripple outward into what we eat. Approximately 1/3 of the world's fertilizer trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Disrupt those shipments, and agricultural input costs go parabolic. We are already seeing urea spot prices surge. When fertilizer gets expensive, crop yields drop, and the cost of food skyrockets. In the global south, places like East Africa and South Asia, governments are burning through billions in subsidies to shield their citizens from the crisis. They are being forced to choose between importing fuel to keep the lights on or importing food to keep people fed. Meanwhile, in the East, an entirely different crisis is unfolding. The Middle East isn't just an oil well. It's the gas station for Asia, China, India, Japan, and South Korea are heavily dependent on liquefied natural gas from Qatar to power their grids. With Qatar Energy forced to declare force majeure on exports because of the blocked strait, Asian energy security is in severe jeopardy. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's an industrial bottleneck. If Asian factories can't get the power they need to operate, global manufacturing slows down, choking off the supply of consumer goods, electronics, and vehicles to the West. It is a perfect, devastating feedback loop. The 2026 Strait of Hormuz crisis proves one terrifying reality about the modern economy: everything is connected. And our global supply chain is incredibly fragile. A conflicting 39-kilometer waterway has stranded 130 million barrels of oil, threatened the food security of the global south, triggered stagflation warnings in Europe, and created unprecedented volatility across the financial markets. Even with operations like the U.S. Navy's Project Freedom attempting to escort merchant ships, until a definitive geopolitical resolution is reached, the global economy remains held hostage by geography. How high do you think oil prices will go before this blockade is broken? Let me know your macroeconomic predictions down in the comments. If you want more deep dives into the geopolitical strategies shaping our world, hit that subscribe button.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.